Hello, I miss you in the classroom and I wish to acknowledge the Yugambeh people of the Gold Coast where I reside. Today we're looking at multiplying negative numbers and we're also looking a little bit of indices with negative numbers. So let's have a look. The first one, 3 times 2. We don't write the sign positive. 3 times by 2 is automatically positive 3 and a positive 2, and the answer is automatically positive 6, even though we don't say positive 6. But let's make one of them a negative, all right? So when we make one of them a negative, so that's negative 3 multiplied by 2. When one is a negative, we're changing the direction. We're no longer going positive, we're changing the direction. So when we're changing the direction, then the answer is a negative. So negative 3 multiplied by 2 is equal to negative 6. All right, so I've got a negative now and a negative, 2 negatives. I've changed the direction, so it's negative 3 times by 2. But then I'm changing the direction again, making the 2 a negative as well as a 3. So if we're changing the direction to get a negative, if we're changing the direction again, we're going back to a positive. So negative times by negative is equal to a positive. So negative 2 times by negative 3 is equal to positive 6. The last one, we've got 3 numbers in there. Let's make one of them a negative. So if we make the minus 3 a negative, minus 3 times 2 is negative 6. 2 times negative 6 is equal to negative 12. All right, so we're not changing the direction twice, we're only changing the direction once. So negative 3 times 2 is negative 6 times by 2. It's still negative and it's a negative 12. Let's change it to another one, make it negative. So we've got negative 3 times by negative 2. Negative 3 times by negative 2, 2 negatives multiplied by each other make a positive, as we just done in question 2. So a positive times a positive is automatically a positive. We don't write a positive. So the answer there is equal to 12. Let's make 3 negatives. A negative times a negative, we've already said is a positive. A negative times by a negative is a positive, and then a positive, changing the direction again, a positive times by a negative, same as up here, is equal to a negative. So the answer here is negative 12. 3 times 2 times 2 is 12, isn't it? So here's a general rule to make us, to stop us having to think about that each time. If there's an odd number of negatives, so there's 1 negative here and then there's 3 negatives there. If there's an odd number of negatives when you're multiplying, then the answer is negative. If there's an even number of negatives, so if there's 2 negatives or 4 negatives in a number sentence when you're multiplying, only when you're multiplying, then the answer is positive, okay? So as simple as that. If there's an odd number of negatives when we're multiplying, it's negative, and when there's an even number, it's positive. But don't forget, timesing by 0 is equal to 0. 0 is nothing. So just briefly touching on division, because division is the opposite of multiplication, isn't it? So 10 divided by 2 is equal to 5, and 5 times 2 is equal to 10. So they are the opposite of each other. 10 divided by 5 is equal to 2. If we make one negative, it's the same as in multiplication. If one's negative and the other one's positive, then the answer is negative. So minus 10 divided by 5 is equal to minus 2, or negative 2. Same as if I changed that to positive 10 and made that a negative 5. 10 divided by negative 5, when one's positive and one's negative, the answer is negative. Just quickly looking at indices, there is a little bit of controversy I'm adding to the end of this video, so stay tuned for that. But negative 4 squared means minus 4 times minus 4, and minus 4 times minus 4 is equal to positive 16, because 2 negatives make a positive when you're multiplying them. Minus 4, number 3, minus 4 times minus 4 is positive 16, times minus 4 again. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64, but there's an odd number of negatives. So the index is odd, so it's negative times a negative times a negative, so the answer is negative 64. So when you're squaring a negative, the answer is positive. When you're cubing a negative, the answer is negative. And if it's to the power of 5, because that's an odd number, and if you're doing something to the power of 5 and it's a negative number you're doing to the power of 5, then the answer is negative. Next up is something that we call ambiguous. The answer is not entirely clear, so stay tuned. Okay, our question in Australia in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire towards the end of production was this. What is minus 4 squared? Now, when we're speaking, minus 4 squared is positive 16. Negative 4 times negative 4 is equal to 16. A negative times a negative is a positive, but think of big mass, or bod mass, as we say. So minus 4 squared. Indices comes first, all right? So 4 squared is equal to 16, and then there's minus, is done after the power. Okay, so the answer is actually for that. Could be minus 16, and have a think, what is 0 minus 16? 0 minus 16 or 0 minus 4 squared is equal to negative 16, isn't it? It's not positive 16. So the answer that they gave on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was 16, was positive 16. Could have been a little bit controversial, and I called I think it's Channel 9, and they said that there's several maths teachers been calling, but production has finished, filming is finished, and the show is no longer. It wasn't actually a controversy because the contestant didn't say either the answer was 16 or minus 16. I think she gave one of the other answers, and it's definitely going to be one of the 16s, isn't it? Minus 16 or positive 16. So here's the thing. If we want minus 4 squared in the written form, we have to write minus 4 squared. If we're thinking along the lines that minus 4 to the power of 2 is positive, and we're right, minus 4 to the power of 2 is positive, we have to write the minus 4 inside brackets. So it's grouped together and we're squaring the whole thing. So it's minus 4 times minus 4. Just a little bit of, could have been a worldwide controversy, but it wasn't. Have a great day and be kind to your teachers.